There's one question that I get with a strong degree of frequency in my classes and online. Which camera should I buy? Of course, your budget is perhaps the major determining factor in that. I mean, if you've got a smartphone right now that was manufactured in the last 2 years and that's working for you, you don't necessarily have to go up to the next step, which would be a DSLR. For many people, smartphone filmmaking is just fine. Features are being shot on smartphones. There are apps that allow you to have greater control of the exposure, the ISO, the different features that you would control on a DSLR as well. Of course, the difference between the DSLR and the smartphone are the lenses and the sensors. The sensor being in the back of the lens, full frame sensor on a medium priced or high end DSLR is obviously going to give you the best imagery. And of course, for many people who are just shooting for the web, that really doesn't matter. So what I tell people is, when they want to buy a camera, how much do you want to spend? Do some research. If you're thinking about buying a DSLR, rent a DSLR. There's a great website called borrowlenses.com, and there are several others where you can rent a DSLR for $20, $25 a day. Several different lenses, $10 or $15 each. So you really get a sense of what you're getting, especially since most people live in places where they can't actually try out the equipment. I mean, if you live in New York or LA, there are shops where you can go and actually put your hands on the equipment, look through the lenses, try it out, like Sammy's in LA or B&H Photo Video in Manhattan, which is just an absolute mecca for buying video equipment of all kinds. But most people can't do that. So I recommend the Borrow Lens type website where you can rent the stuff. Also, I know that Amazon would not like me to say this, but if you buy something on Amazon and you don't like it, you can return it in 30 days. They're very cool about that. And there's nothing worse than buyer's remorse when you do a lot of research and get a camera and it just doesn't work out for you, and then you feel, oh, I'm stuck with it. So I have returned equipment to Amazon that hasn't worked out for me. It's not something I do on a regular basis, but I have done it. It's something you can do. Also talk to your friends, to other filmmakers online, and face-to-face. DSLRs, the more you spend, the more you get. The difference between a lower-end DSLR and a higher-end DSLR is a full-frame sensor, which looks better. But on a web video, are you going to be able to tell the difference if it's lit properly? Probably not. But if you want to go beyond putting your videos on the web, you want to put them in theaters on larger screens, you're probably going to want to go for a DSLR. But people are shooting feature films with smartphones. There are apps that enable you to control the exposure, the ISO, the focus, the audio in a way that you could do on a DSLR. These smartphone apps, Filmic Pro is one of them, give you great control over the video on a smartphone. Certainly, whether you're shooting with a smartphone or a DSLR, you need an external microphone. One of the big differences in professional quality video and amateur video is the amateur just takes the audio from the microphone on the camera, which makes it sound far away, and usually the volume isn't right. Now, I'm doing this now. I'm a rule breaker. I say don't record video without an external mic. Well, I am literally on top of the microphone on the camera. I'm speaking loudly. It's quiet out here, so this audio is acceptable. But if I was 5 feet away, I'd have a microphone on right now. So the DSLR, you can get a DSLR. You can get a Canon Rebel for $500 or $600. A good Canon DSLR body, the 70D, the 5D, I like. They start at $1,200 or $1,300. And then, of course, the lenses make all the difference in a DSLR. You want, if you can, a fast lens, that where the fast coming from the f-stop opening up very wide, shoot in low light situations. That's good. Of course, you can use external lights as well, but I recommend in the mid-price range, which is about $1,300, you can get a good Canon 70D. So what I use for a DSLR. And I also use, this is being shot on an iPhone. This is an iPhone 6 Plus. One thing I like about DSLRs is that it's easier to work with the media from my perspective, because you can just take the card, the SD card, out of the DSLR and plug it into a computer and look at it immediately. I mean, that's something that I emphasize when I teach. I tell my students that when you shoot, it's really important to look at what you shot. Don't go and do a whole day shoot without having seen what the results are. After you shoot for half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever time you designate, you need to take that media out of the device, put it into a computer, and look at it. Because a DSLR has a very small viewfinder, and a smartphone does as well. Also, if you're shooting outside, it's hard to look into a DSLR. You really can't see it. So for that reason, I've always found that if I'm on a shoot, it's easier to see what I've done on a DSLR because I just pull the card out of there and take a look at it. Of course, smartphones are a lot more portable. I know there's a lot of people who are reluctant to use smartphones. They just want to jump right to a DSLR. I tell them that smartphone's a good place to start. Make a couple films on a smartphone. After you become comfortable with it, rent a DSLR. See how you feel about that. Then go out and maybe buy one. Or if you're only shooting 2 or 3 videos a year, you don't want to buy a DSLR. You just need to rent a DSLR. So there's different ways to navigate this. Up to you, depending on price, how often you shoot, where it's going to end up. And you can do your research, talk to your friends, participate in some groups online, and then you can make the proper decision.